can AI actually start doing the work a human can? We were just figuring out where will voice AI be, where will it start growing very rapidly. So we definitely thought that we have a very big undue advantage to build for Indian businesses. It was very English focused in general, voice AI. Hindi, it was absolutely horrible the way it was not natural at all, extremely complex to make. I wouldn't say we got lucky, but we were in the right place at the right time because model costs did go down. Newer models
Hmm.
did come up. People started focusing on vernacular overall. Uh, and that really helped us as well.
Hey, folks, it's great to have Maitreya on this show today. Maitreya has been running Bolna, and Bolna AI does voice for some very interesting use cases across India and perhaps the globe. So, Maitreya has been part of Upekkha for a couple of years now, and we watched them grow from basically no calls and a demo page to a very, very large number today. So very proud and very happy to see how Maitreya has taken Bolna and Pratik as well and the rest of the team to whole new places, going boldly where no one has gone before. Fantastic to have you here, Maitreya.
Yep. Always fun to talk to you, Prasanna. As Prasanna rightly put, we're building Bolna for around 2 years now. Upekkha sort of believed in the thesis when I don't think even we had that much belief. I think Pratik and I have made this joke quite often that after talking to Prasanna and Rajan, it feels like they are much more bullish on what we're doing than we are, because in the early days you have a lot of doubts of are things working or not. When we started, voice AI was very new. um I was in Bain earlier. I worked in a startup called Probo, and then I jumped into this. So, not a very strong tech background for me, also. And then at that point of time, we were just figuring out where will voice AI be, where will it start growing very rapidly, and we want to be there at that point of time. And in 2024, that answer for that was US. So to start off with, we thought of being like an open source American voice AI platform, and that's what got us into Pekka. That's what got us working with Prasanna and Rajan. I think things have changed a lot since then. A lot of um, we've pivoted a lot. The ecosystem has changed. Models have improved. Use cases have sprung up. But I would say the first 1 year of building the company was like figuring out, exploring where we want to build, and trying out a bunch of different things. All with varying amounts of success. I think nothing was an absolute failure. Everything helped us improve the product, build more tools,
Right.
in like work with more super smart people who helped our journey in many ways. But what really started working last year was when a lot of models started coming out and people realized that the bar of the uncanny valley crossing requires more than just an off the shelf model. It requires a variety of different models which are used for different things. On top of that, a lot of tools, a lot of features, a lot of routing that is built in order to reduce costs and increase human like the natural conversation that can be done. And on top of that, a lot of services in terms of building the agent in the right way, which is still a very human thing in itself. That 90 to 100% of perfection is still a human art of that we had sort of picked up in this 1 year of building agents with people, and that sort of drove adoption for us from last June.
I think, you mentioned Uncanny Valley,
Yeah,
right? And I think Uncanny Valley is something that, as an idea has been around for a long time.
yeah.
For those who don't know, in the voice context, what would you describe was Uncanny Valley a year ago or 2 years ago? What was Uncanny Valley a year ago, and what is Uncanny Valley today? Because I'm not sure that they're the same things, right? I don't know. You would know better.
Sure. I don't think it's the same thing even today for different use cases, right? Like, of course, like
Right.
how it's similar to the imitation game, the classic theory, right? That can AI pass the Turing test? I think this is like a newer way that uncanny valley is the cool term that is mostly used these
Right.
days. But I think the way things have changed is both from a foundational level of the foundational models that have come up. 1 year ago, just managing to have a conversation would be something that is mind blowing, right? Like, wow, this is not a pre recorded message that the AI is saying. The AI is actually understanding what I'm saying and coming back. And then people went, and then a lot of the next big thing was interruption handling, right? Humans understand when someone wants to stop them or not. Turn
Hmm.
detection, putting oohs and ahs in the middle of your words so that you sound much more natural. So there were a lot of like very quick hacky ways that we also and all our models also started incorporating, that let's solve voice by this, let's do this to solve voice. And I think today we've sort of now reached the third phase, which is sure, you do whatever hacky ways you want, you make it sound like human, you don't make it sound like human. Can it solve the purpose? Can it make the user feel heard? And can it solve the problem? And that's sort of where we are today, where there's very less questions on, hey, why was the latency high? The questions are more around, why did this not work? Why did the call not reach the desired state? So I think now we're sort of focusing more on outcomes and more on like, can AI actually start doing the work a human can?
That's very interesting, right? Because 2 years ago, the first like voice to voice models were happening, or the first, the
Yeah.
first. I mean, so many people were trying different things, and it was barely like a few sentences to.
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with somebody who said, "Oh, you can't even hold a 60-second conversation," and I'm like, "No, man, we have a startup which is doing like 5-minute conversations,
Yeah.
right?" And of course, it's not adversarially going to work, but it was, everybody's not adversarial either, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
so how has, from a GTM standpoint, right? When you guys came in, we talked about, one of the things I liked was that you gave a playground to everybody, they play with it. But of course, then we got spammers as well, and a lot of things like that, right? So, targeting the US or global market versus targeting India, that was a big shift. Can you
Yep.
walk us through what happened before? How did you make the decision? How did you make the shift?
I think from day one, we thought we should be building for India. And I think the purpose for that was, wherever you're starting up, you often ask what's your advantage, right? Like what sets you apart from everyone else who has the same idea. And brand and access to great people is a very strong advantage that we had, right? Like IIT, Bain, good companies, no VC, no company, no, like even any consumer tech company today is at max one call away, right? Either through a VC or through someone who's recently joined as a PM, or someone who's like a Bain partner who's joined as a CXO. So we definitely thought that we have a very big undue advantage to build for Indian businesses. And that's sort of why we wanted to build in India. What did not work then was, I think, twofold. One is it was very English focused in general, voice AI. Hindi, it was absolutely horrible the way it was not natural at all, extremely complex to make. And it was very expensive 2 years back. The models, the routing, the cost of LLM, the cost of reasoning. So both of these reasons just made it not useful at all for India at that point of time, right? While we were getting the connects, while we were getting the demos, while we were getting the pilots, there was very clear reasons why people would not buy, and it's that it's not natural enough, it's too expensive. And we were seeing that in US that's not happening. But then
Hmm.
getting those demos was the toughest part, right? And both can be done. I don't think one is more possible than the other. Like one is you can build a brand in US by just spending time in SF, going to events, putting things on LinkedIn. And second is you can improve your product to make it more suitable to the market. I think we tried both. The second worked better for us.
Hmm.
The first, we did spend time in SF. We came with Upekkha, of course. We
Right.
visited different time points of time as well. We started building a brand there. We started talking to people there. But the sort of value add that 10 years of like IIT plus Bain plus Zomato browser stack of Pratik, that can't be covered in like 1 month visits to SF.
Right.
But because we kept working on product, kept focusing on caching, routing, making things cheaper, we could bridge that gap much better to make our tech more suitable for the market that we were talking to. So that is one thing. And of course, I think I wouldn't say we got lucky, but we were in the right place at the right time because model costs did go down, newer models
Hmm.
did come up, people started focusing on vernacular overall, uh, and that really helped us as well, and that sort of gave us that confidence to build where we have more information, we have more contacts, we have more access.
So, Indian enterprises are famously very, very value conscious, right? They
Yeah,
want to chop you down to the last paisa,
yeah, yeah,
very tough in terms of making money from them. That's at a margin, right? Has
yeah,
margin, right? Famously, Reliance says, hey, show us your bomb. We'll give you 15% margin, right? Take 15% margin. It's okay,
yeah.
right? So that's the kind of a place that many enterprise folks come from, right? So, and you started working with some very large enterprises and some, of course, many new age companies and, like you said, DTC companies as well. But all of them are value conscious, right?
Correct, correct,
To different degrees, right?
correct.
So when did you first feel that, hey, even though there is this large challenge of
Hmm.
dealing with value conscious customers, AI, the cost of AI is high. Uh, like we can make a business out of this, or there is, first of all, there's value to be added here from us, and second, how can we still have a margin? When did this kind of click, or maybe it's still not fully click because the prices are all over? But how has this thinking about this evolved for
Hmm. I think margins are lower. There's
you?
no way to avoid that. There's no way to solve for that. You can reduce the gap between the margins by doing a lot of optimizations on your end, by reducing costs from your end. But you will get lower margins in India than in US. I think the people who use there are some mid market companies using Bolna in US willing to pay, I would say, almost double that of what an Indian mid market company would be willing to pay on a per
Right.
minute basis. Um, so that's there. That is the harm. I think you have to build a business understanding that in India, which is sort of why when someone builds SaaS or productivity or like a collaborative tool, they are pushed to sell to US versus selling to India
Correct.
simply
Correct.
because there are more businesses in US. Their margins are higher. It makes no sense for you
Right.
to not target that. However, a slight differentiation we have is we charge on every call that happens, and the number of
Right.
calls that happen in India are always way more than that in US. So one third margin but 3x calls sort of still cover up for the overall market and the overall
ACV.
profit pool that does exist. Yeah, overall ACV as well that you can get even at lower revenue per minutes. So I think that is why voice AI is one of the, like, I think 10 million, 20 million ARR is not is very reachable for us and also for other voice AI players that are building in today's space. And this is a very tough number for a SaaS tool to have reached.
Right. Right.
Right, 5, 6 is sort of where I think the
Correct.
the
A
standard
lot of
capping
people
is.
tap
After
out.
5 million, you have to go out.
It's a
Um,
struggle.
and that's and that's sort of because it's seat based, right? And you're paying employees a
Right.
salary of like 1 lakh rupees a month. How many of them do you want? Are you going to pay 5,000 rupees extra per seat
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
a SaaS product? But if you're calling a million people, if there are like 10 million people in your CRM, that the math is completely different over there. So that's sort of why voice
Absolutely.
worked a little more uniquely than standard B2B for our India play. And I think that's sort of why it is working, even directly selling to India. The second thing, a more nuanced, not a nuanced thing at all, actually, the more in your face thing here is salaries are wildly different. And when you're selling a level of services which any AI has to do, this actually starts playing as a part. And I think we really discovered this when in SF, when we were talking to people and we were hiring teams and we're just looking at the numbers. And then we were just like, you know what, it's easier to build a more sustainable business from India. Uh, that's more a from than a for India thing, but I think from and it's much better to be from and for the same place. So it's way more cost effective to be from India when you're building a large team of like super smart people, uh, which is close to impossible in US unless you've raised like a really high
Right.
amount of money and you're willing to burn a lot more. Because as we're seeing a lot of, I think we recently met Ankit and some YC partners who also said hiring has gone up. Hiring for smart people has not reduced even remotely, because smart people can now do a lot more with Claude, with tools in their arsenal. And when you say that, that means if the value of intelligent people goes higher, it's much more expensive if that person lives in SF and requires a $500,000 salary. It really starts
And
playing
a two
into your
hundred fifty
P&L.
thousand dollar token budget.
Exactly. And that starts playing into your P&L, right? Like the human cost is becoming more and more real because you're hiring more and more people at higher budgets.
So what's the token budget for Bolna now?
It's
Do you have
I think
a
Pratik has made it unlimited last week.
okay,
We
interesting.
have a lot of different token budgets, of course. I think Claude is what everyone is using for primarily for like deployments and like monitoring agents and testing and all of that. More in-house from a more for our customers, it's more
Right.
models we run on our Azure or
Correct. But
OpenAI,
that's on their
GPT-OSS
behalf
and all.
though.
Some monitoring is not on their behalf, like we take the cost
Got it.
for that. Some
Right, right. That's
dispositions
more
we run.
cogs though
Correct, that's
than
more
your
cost.
development or your
Yes. The development cost, I think their Claude is the by far fan favorite.
nice, nice. So I think given this, just staying on the India thing a bit, right, and India thing and the value thing, right.
Yeah.
I think one of the early things that we discussed was what is where is the value, right? What do you call this thing that you're doing?
Hmm.
Why does it create value,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And therefore, what should it be called, or how should you sell it, and who should you sell it to within
Hmm.
an organization? These were questions
Hmm.
that you were grappling with a couple of years ago, right?
Hmm.
How has that clicked? What is it
Hmm.
now?
I think we're selling to different types of people, and I still don't think we have the answer to this is the right ICP who is buying our product. It's generally technical decision makers. So it could either be the CTO or the CPO, or a lot of new companies have like a AI lead, a chief innovation officer, and all of that. So it's sort of these more new age tech focused folks who we talk to in order to work with deployments. Um, what exactly is the value add? Also, again, very much depends on the answer to the first question of how a company is looking at it. I think
Right.
overall, there are two main buckets in which a company falls. One is a company which wants to put in their operator and product efforts because they want to
Mm,
own the outcomes themselves. And their
mm,
logic there is today I need 1,000, like 100% BP, 500 people BPO, plus analytics tools, plus scripts, plus management and all of that. Instead of that, I want one Bolna on which I can build these agents. There, the value add we have created is they don't need to be aware of all the model releases, which are the newest models coming out. They don't need to start building in like in call routing if the language switches. They don't need to start focusing on human like uh, calling and stability of the call. They only need to focus on the workflows that happen before and after the call, or
mm,
sort of like what do they want to be discussed in the call? How should the AI respond to certain things? So those are one type of companies, and we see these companies very rapidly scaling because they've already put their minds into what they want. They already have
nice.
a lot of focus that yes, we want to get this done. Margins are much thinner over here, of course, because what we're providing is one part of the entire stack. But volumes are higher, so that sort of really helps us. And being self-serve from day one, as you said, having that platform live has really helped build that confidence that I can do this myself. Maybe a little bit of tech support or maybe a little bit of feature deployment specifically for me will get the job done.
Mm,
The second type is enterprises, which is slightly newer for us. It's been like 4 or 5 months since we signed our first larger enterprise. Um, and today we're working with, I would say, 20. Some of them are listed, some are close to being listed. I think IPOing like this year, I would say three, four are IPOing either this year or
mm,
have just IPO'd last year. Um, but I think with these enterprises, it's sort of like you guys are experts in voice AI. I am facing trouble in this. Help us solve it. So then it becomes a product plus services solve, which we're happy to do because we do have that level of like we understand what works and what doesn't work in voice. So that's something that's a little different for an enterprise. Much slower sales cycles, takes time to onboard. More margins, of course, given that we're doing a lot over here and a lot more ownership on the outcome.
got it, got it. And so that brings me to, a great place to ask this question, which is, in January you were at, I think, 200k calls a day. I think
Yeah.
that was in your announcement. Last week you said you were at 3 million calls a week.
Yeah.
So that's a like a pretty big jump, right? Because that
Yeah.
was your best day, and this is the whole week, hitting that
Yeah.
as an average, right? So how has that ride been, and where do you see it going from here?
So the massive increase is still from the first type of companies that we're talking about, which are very rapidly scaling, and I think that is going to continue. There is no reason why it won't, because we have like a lot of newer companies who within a month they do a month of testing and then they go absolutely berserk, and in that process even the earlier companies keep growing more and more because they're getting value out of it. So I think that scale is going to continue, which is
Fair enough.
around like 20-30% of growth monthly. The newer scale that's going to start now is the enterprise arm. I think the largest calling enterprise that we have, who we are handling outcomes end to end, is probably only doing like 100,000 minutes a month out of the total like 4 million, 3 to 4 minutes that we do. All of them have potential to reach like 1 million themselves, but it
Wow.
just takes time because it's a much longer sales cycle and much larger deployments.
The
I think three
implementation,
months
yeah.
down the line, we'll have one or two of our enterprises starting to reach that more than 500k minutes per month number. And like these are massive, and these are like companies like Varun Beverages, right, which literally do everything that can be done in FMCG and like goods and packaging and everything. So today it's as basic as we're calling businesses who ask for the coolers or the refrigeration within Punjab and Haryana, right? It's as specific as that what we're doing today, which is like 20-30,000 minutes a month. We're doing like 3-4 use cases like this. These use cases will increase, the geographies will increase, and that in itself sort of begins our success for enterprises in a way that it's reaching like their full potential, which is like in the millions of minutes. So we'll see two levers of growth now. One is continuous from tech first companies, and one is from the success we're achieving with enterprises.
Fantastic. Let's go into the use cases, right? Because in
Sure.
the beginning, when we started off, we were not sure what would the use cases be. Then I remember you guys narrowed down to saying, let's try HR use cases.
Yeah.
Now you're figuring out, people are figuring out how to use you for things that you may not have
Yeah.
imagined. How has that been?
Sure, sure. We're discovering very new use cases that previously we don't even know existed. I think HR recruitment are the most natural ones because those are the calls that you have done yourself. Right? I have
Right.
probably done 1,000 interviews, and then you're like, hey, why am I doing that? Let's get a voice AI to do it. I was saying that I don't know what use case Bolna will be doing primarily 1 year from now. But 3 years from now, I think I have a very strong feeling that it's going to be customer support. I think at the end of the day, that is the place where we can derive the biggest differential that no one else can. I know that today, probably if you look at today's voice AI industry, the use case being used most across India, voice AI is collection calls, which is like EMI calls, and most companies in voice AI are focused only on
Right.
doing that, which are much simpler than customer support, and that's sort of why they are being picked up very rapidly. Cart abandonment is another, or like discounts or broadcasts, reminders. These are all use cases that can quickly be picked up, and they are definitely expanding. However, these are definitely use cases where companies always think about, should I build this in-house? Should I use someone else? There's always going to be a price struggle. But at the end of the day, automating customer support, making it one voice AI that handles every call or every request that comes in, creates tickets, solves those tickets, that is going to be the use case that really sticks. It's less intrusive because it's inbound. Humans like to do these calls because we see
Right.
that their option today is long wait times and IVRs, and this is actually getting the job done for them. So I
Ah,
think
that's
this is actually going to be something that at least we will be will be focusing much more on.
Oh, so that's very interesting, right? Because earlier on, the when the IVR-ish calls were happening, it was not very great, right? It was like,
Yeah,
you're stuck in the IVR, you're trying to
yeah,
get somewhere, you're not getting there. It's
yeah,
very frustrating. It's like a tree and you're like stuck somewhere
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
one branch of the tree with no
yeah.
clue what's going on, right? It will be very frustrating. But you're telling me that people like AI calls and because it helps them save time. Can you give me an
Yeah.
example of how that's worked out?
No, I mean the current flows anywhere are you either call and it's press one, press two, which people
Right.
are wishing to talk to a human. The issue is press one doesn't talk about the frustration that a human has, right? Like when someone
Mm-hmm.
calls, the first thing they want to do is actually vent that out that your
Mm-hmm.
trimmer, my trimmer is not working, or the car that I bought from your marketplace is
Yeah. Yeah.
faulty, right? And press one is to just completely annoy someone when they
Correct.
want to
Correct.
say this. Voice AI is first a great listener. It's like the best listener that
Mm.
ever exists
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
can listen without its mood changing, without it getting annoyed with you. And that's part one. Part two is then actually figuring out a solve. I think the level of integrations we have with some players that we're working with for customer support helps us completely understand what are the different ways that these calls have been done by humans earlier. What worked, what didn't work. It's all trained on top of that. So we
Right.
actually understand that this is what needs to be done. At the end of the day, the human doesn't want a human voice or an AI voice. They want a solution, right? They either want a refund or they
Correct.
want a way in which they can fix their problem, or they want an explanation
Absolutely.
why that problem can be like solved themselves. They don't need to do
Yeah.
anything else, and that's why we're seeing. And again, I think there's a nuance here because a lot of voice AI today is still very archaic. It's very rule based. It's
Right.
very predefined messages that are recorded, and people are doing that just to reduce costs and not really increasing CSAT in the first
Mm.
place. But I think as costs overall reduce, as we start moving on to this voice AI boom that's happening right now, quality will start becoming very important here because soon there will be, I think there are very few high quality voice AI inbound customer supports that exist today in India. In US, that number is pretty big. I think a lot of DoorDash, a lot of Uber inbound calls are handled end to end in a very good way
Mm.
by voice AI, which a lot of people in America are also now getting accustomed to. It's much tougher to do in India because lower pricing, more languages, many more accents, but it will be possible.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. What's the like the craziest use case that you've seen that you just blew your mind?
So one very crazy use case is I won't tell the name of
Sure.
the ice cream company because we will put a case study on this soon. So behind the wrapper of the ice cream product, there's a small phone number, right? And if you like the product, you can dial that number and speak to Volna and ask to directly order more items of that product yourself. So that's what shop owners
Wow.
do because shop owners generally get a variety of different products as into like small businesses and like small kirana
Right.
stores. And then they see that hey, this SKU is getting sold a lot. Let's quickly find out how can I bulk order this, and then they do
Mm.
that call. So that's like a very unique use case which
Wow.
we would never have even thought of that is currently happening. But it's another interesting one we're working on is it's like a toast for India sort of company. So smaller restaurants don't like to update the menu on using the Google APIs. So they
Mm.
just call and like, अरे बटर चिकन महंगा हो गया 20 रुपए बढ़ा दो इसका cost, right?
Mm.
And that's what they're used to doing because they just change on they have this big board of today's specials and they write 30 rupees instead of 20 rupees for like Lays or whatever. But they, in order to get that on Google on their official online menu, they just have a calling line where they're like, hey, please do this for me. And they're like humans who are
Wow.
handling this call today, which we are like now starting to automate.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. How much of your growth do you think is going to come from these kind of new use cases versus the very standard use cases that are there?
Um, I'm not sure. I think definitely standard use cases will always have higher growth, and also the definition of new is keeps changing, right? Like 6 months ago, I
Of
would
course.
say someone who is asking a Google form filling and switching from Google Forms to Voice AI is a new use case. Today,
Yeah.
that almost seems like standardized for me, but a lot of growth will come through that. So,
Right.
what I feel new today, I don't think a lot of growth will come, but you never know. 6 months from now, maybe so many people are doing these
Hmm.
types of calls that
Right, right.
it becomes normalized.
Yeah, to me, in a sense, it parallels what Google did from an advertising standpoint, right?
Fair.
One SMBs would rarely advertise.
Hmm.
Niche folks would rarely advertise because
Hmm.
how do you reach your audience, right? It's diffuse.
Correct.
Search advertising then flipped that and said, these are people who are searching for what you want, and even if there are only 100 people searching for that, you can advertise in front of them,
Hmm.
but in a kind of a arm's length scaled kind of a way, right? And
Yeah.
so many of the advertisers, and similar in a DTC context for a Facebook, happened,
Correct.
right? So that unlocked so many different online sellers or online merchants of different types, which was not
Correct.
possible with the earlier advertising mediums. So to me, somewhere it feels like two kind of cases, right? One is there is the standard cases where you call bank or whatever else, and you're expecting to talk to a
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
on. And there is of course some 70, 80,
Yeah.
85% of that can be solved with voice AI, if not today,
Hmm.
maybe in the near future. Right? But then when I think about a lot of the stuff that you are saying, these nobody would have thought of using agents for these kind of use cases, because how do you train the agents for this? Like there's going to be a gap between what you're
Yeah.
really saying and
Yeah.
what gets into the system. Like it's you wouldn't imagine that, okay, for this use case, for x number of people, I will put some way to handle it on voice and
Correct.
stuff like that, right? So to me, a bunch of things that you're saying sound like that kind of a Cambrian explosion of uh, weird types of use cases, because like the Varun beverages thing that you said as well, right? It's a B2B use case. You're calling a store, and of course, you could make somebody call that store, but how many stores will they call? Over what period will they call?
Yeah.
Will they have all the information? Will they know all about the models, the French models in this case?
Yeah.
And so many things, right? It's hard to train so many people for these use cases. So to me, that's like what kind of resonates when you're telling me this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a learning experience. Every day you find out something new. And now that we have now that another reason why it makes sense to quickly grow in the team sense as well is just like if you have 8 people who are doing their own research, having their own conversations with more customers, the knowledge inflow is just like massive. It was all bottlenecked at how much amount of information Pratik and I can gather from the market. And now it's much bigger, right? Because this is not documented information on Claude. This is actual
Yeah, yeah.
real conversations that you have with people who have teams that are doing calls. And now they're like, hey, let's get a voice here to solve this.
No, this is fantastic. So just taking a step back, going to a lower level in the stack, if you will, right? As you've seen the models themselves evolve over the last 2.5 years or so that you've been doing this stuff, uh, what did you expect the trajectory to be in terms of the model capabilities, the model costs? How has that been? Has it met your expectations, or were your expectations different?
Maybe I'll speak specifically for. I'll first speak not outside voice AI and then for voice AI.
Right.
Outside voice AI, I think they have definitely surpassed expectations. What Claude Code can do today, what GPT can do today, the conversations you can have. Like I think the newer Claude Code models, I can actually have extremely deep intellectual conversations, very naturally, with them. Like literally, my Claude knows so much about me that if I ask hey, here is this new use case or here is this new thing. Should I do it or not? It tells me which employee in my team might have more bandwidth next month and you should ask them to do it because their skills match
Wow.
with it. Right? I'm like, wow, this is absolutely insane. And they're mostly right as well. So there, I think everything has surpassed my expectations for sure. From a voice, from a calling perspective specifically, maybe not. Like maybe I had a little higher expectations. I think speech to text is still something that is miles away from what it should be. The word error rate, or
Understood.
for models which have good word error rate, the latency is not is a little slow to progress. I mean, I'm no one to comment because we've not really done a lot of fine tuning ourselves. We've done a bit, but we are way worse than the like our in-house models are nowhere near the best models that exist today. But I think
Right.
where they should be today is still even higher. I think text to speech is a place where we are getting closer and closer. But even there, it's not perfect. 11 labs, Cartesia, sort of hallucinations still happen. Sentences,
Right.
the voice gets extremely excited in the middle of a sentence unexpectedly. So I think there's still a lot of work, a lot of advancements that are waiting to be made from speech to text and text to speech. For LLMs, I think reasoning is good, as which plugs into my first sentence. The
Right.
intelligence part of it is very good. Latency and cost is, I think, something that that can go down more. I think cost has not gone down, so funnily for a while now. So
I see.
we'll have to see if that's a trend or if that's something that's just for now, and then we're going to go back
Hmm.
to rapidly declining costs.
Got it. And you know, in the same context, right? Do you see that? Are you able to do more types of calls than before? What I mean by that is because from a calling perspective, right? Somebody calling from a landline versus somebody calling from a good cell phone versus somebody calling from a patchy cell phone. All of these are very, very different, right? How has the voice, the text, speech to text, changed under like different difficult conditions in the Indian context?
I think an example is health tech in India cannot be done today with voice AI because the
I see.
complexity in the words that people say is not picked up by any model. So I think these
Mm-hmm.
are use cases that are not being unlocked. Of course, like I'm speaking from the sense that a lot of things have been unlocked already. It's not like nothing has
Right.
happened. 1 year, it's just 1 year ago that deep, like there was no model that could even understand Hindi. And today Hindi is almost like 80% use cases are all perfectly solved. So a lot of advancements have happened, but these are just things that have not happened today. Like there are massive health tech companies which come to us saying we've tried everyone, but like no one understands a Hindi sentence जिसके बीच में there are three different medicine names being said. So I know a lot of
Right.
companies are doing fine tuning specifically for this,
Mm.
but yeah, I don't think we've reached that space where such use cases are being unlocked. Addresses, for example, for we do a lot of delivery calls, and we've done a lot of work on top of Google APIs, mapping which is the closest center
Mm.
to you and all of that. But in the end, Indian addresses are just so random, right? Like it's very tough for humans to also understand. It's just a while away for AI to do it.
Indian addresses, people, the way they pronounce the medicines and things like that is just completely different, right? And different accents as well, so on, right? Looking at what's going to come up, right? And looking at how far you've come. Um, this is in two parts. One is what has the scaling taught you? What has this rapid growth taught you? What was unexpected in that rapid growth?
I think quality matters is one of the biggest learnings, right? At the starting, the first conversation you have is all going to be about price. It's all going to be, hey, 10 cents, 10 paisa come, please. It's all going to be, I need a lot of services and all of that. At the end of the day, what helps you win though is just how real your calls sound, how natural your calls sound, and of course, how helpful your team is to the final client. So it's been good that we've never sacrificed on that. That's always been our focus. We've not been like, okay, we'll be the cheapest and we'll just ignore clients, or we'll just do a land grab and then let people handle things themselves, not give them the support. So I think quality of service, quality of product is something that is very important. The second thing I think that I keep telling everyone is if you're talking about things on LinkedIn that aren't interesting, that's amazing because they will get interesting at some point of time, and when they do, you'll people will by default want to listen to you. I think when we were talking about like Hindi voice AI, it was just like no one cared even remotely, right? And today everyone's talking about voice AI, but I think Pratik and I have like we've not done a single dollar of marketing yet, to be honest. And
Wow.
Bolna brand is still something that like most people know of in India, at least in the voice AI space. No marketing, no massive booths, and no massive conferences. We've been very frugal there. Um, I'm not saying we'll continue to be. I think we'll
Sure,
definitely
of course.
get into all of that. But until now, just organic content has worked a lot. Just talking about what we think, what we're learning, even when that space wasn't hot, even when we weren't getting 200 likes per post. I think that's very important.
Got it. Now, this is the hardest question you're going to have,
Okay.
right? Looking forward, a year or two, what is it going to be like?
I mean, I don't even know, man. Like 2 years back, what we were versus today, it's very tough to extrapolate. But I think the space will be less noisy in 2 years. Model companies will sort of take a decision, or do they want to be model companies, or do they want to be orchestration layers or application layers? Application companies, I think, will sort of start realizing that there's no point in building models or owning orchestration. We should focus on final application. So there'll be a little bit of people hyper focusing on what they're doing the best. When that happens, do we lie more on application or do we lie more on orchestration? Even I am not very sure.
Mhm.
I, I think we may have either we'll choose one or we'll have like very specific teams focused on one and another team focused on the other. That is
Mhm.
one thing. I think second thing, inbound calls, voice AI is going to explode. Until now, outbound has exploded because it's been very easy to do outbound calling. But as companies adopt much more integrated voice AI deployments, the way we are doing with with some of the larger companies right now, inbound is going to be the thing that's here to stay, and the thing that keeps increasing forever, right? Where outbound will start getting capped. Um, because a lot of calls are going as spam and all as well today, right? So
Right,
these
right.
are real problems that need to be solved. And yeah, and we'll probably be a little outside India as well. I think that's something that's on the cards. A lot of companies are using us from US, from Southeast Asia, from Europe, but still smaller use cases. Our sales arm is completely focused on India, but I think 1 or 2 years from now that will also be something that definitely expands.
So this is just some quick questions, right? Which language is the hardest? English, Tanglish, or Benglish?
um, I think English is much harder than Hindi or English because it's just too complex how people talk, and everyone has their own form of English. Some people speak numbers in Hindi, some
Interesting.
people speak numbers in English. Everyone says the word AI and science and technology all in English only. So it's very
Uh,
complex, but yeah, I think it's very natural to us
right.
because we've just done that all our lives.
Okay.
But complex for
Which
AI.
Indian language do you think is the hardest?
So I only know Hindi, Marathi. So
Hmm.
for me, all other languages are very hard.
For
We've
AI, not
hired.
for you. For
Okay,
AI, not
for
for you.
AI, I would say for AI, the hardest language is one that is not even in the 15-20 list that everyone keeps doing. I think there are a lot of languages, a lot
Hmm.
of styles of language, like Konkani, for example. Although it is very similar to Marathi, if you want
Hmm.
to prove that in Konkani your AI has crossed the uncanny valley, it's a much tougher task. You'll reach 60%
Hmm.
with Marathi and Hindi, like with whatever you're building,
Hmm.
but beyond that is going to be very tough.
Is that a data problem right now? What do you think?
I mean, data plus like how many people are working on it, right? How many people are actively trying to solve it?
So when you look at the top Indian LLM company, right, Sarvam, are
Yeah.
they're also doing a bunch of stuff in voice and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you see them as a friend? Do you see them as a competitor? How do you see them?
So Servum's models are, of course, our partners. We work very closely with the Servum team, along with 11, along with DeepGram, along with all the other model companies that exist. Um, their Servum agents is more of a competitor. I think the competition sort of comes with more large scale deployments for enterprises, where of course, like being sovereign in India and all has its benefits. For technical companies, it's definitely more quality focused, where the optionality of having more than Servam. Like Servam is great in some ways, but not in others. Like 11 is better,
Correct.
Cartesia is better, DeepRAM is better in different silos. So sort of getting all of that and being able to use all of that is much easier for companies to digest
Got it.
than committing their entire dev efforts only to one model. But yeah, I mean, all Servum's releases are good news for us because they unlock a lot of newer users and callers for our clients.
So what is the latest AI tool that you've used personally?
Sonnet 4.7, but if I think
Mm,
about a different tool, Base Dash is the tool I am
mm,
completely hooked onto. It is built on top of BigQuery for our company.
mm,
I mean, it's built on top of our entire data. It is the
mm.
most natural way I have seen that you can converse with data.
Nice.
And yeah, I sort of hate it as well because now everyone in my team, no one even bothers to learn SQL. Everyone just asks
Mm.
Base Dash, "Hey Base Dash, tell me this, tell me that." But yeah, but I think Base Dash has almost made us very sure we'll never need an analyst team or anyone focused on
Wow.
analysis. It is our analyst.
Were you an analyst in Bain?
Oh yeah. So I was an associate, but yes, a lot of the work I did for Bain and at Probo can be done by Baystash today.
Okay. You wish you had it then.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay.
But I
Cool.
think that's a very interesting tool.
Yeah. So, you know, are you vibe coding?
Oh yeah, yeah, a lot, a lot.
What do you
Not
build?
on not on Bolna core. Prateek would never allow me to to do that. But such as if you want to build like observability dashboards for us for one of our like a very curated observability dashboard, or if we want to create newer ways that people can build specific agents instead of having to write a lot of English or create a complex graph, we quickly build like Claude artifacts or Lovable plus Replit Lovable plus Superbase sort of deployments, and we make them live so that our clients can either use them or can see them. And it also helps a lot in team, like within the team itself, if you want to pass data from one person to another, pass information of how I built this. Instead of telling them, you can just show them, right? You can just give them that this is how I built it. You can also now build it by using this
Mm, mm.
artifact. So we've seen a lot of our especially younger people who are just out of like 1 2 years out of IIT Delhi, KGP, and all. They know every single jugaad that exists on Claude. Like what can be done to reduce efforts the quickest, and I absolutely love it. Matlab, I think it's great that
Oh,
people are
that's nice.
thinking that way.
Fantastic, man. Anything we missed that we should have covered?
I think we covered mostly everything. Superb.
Awesome. Fantastic, man. Thanks
Cool.
a lot.
Thank
It was
you.
great
Thanks
having
for
you
having
here
me. It was great.
and
Great talking to
looking
you.
forward to the 10 million announcement soon.
Let's see.